Hello! This time I'm just going to touch a bit on the impact that my diagnosis had in making me reconsider a few things in my life. A combination of ADHD traits like impulse control, low boredom threshold, and when undiagnosed, anxiety and stress mean that there are some habits we can develop that we can probably do without. When you think that ADHD is believed to be related to low dopamine levels, that's a recipe for overdoing things, you might say. I might do some videos on each of them in themselves, but I was just going to talk about 3 habits in particular that I've taken quite recent steps to address since finding out I had this superpower. The first is alcohol. Don't get me wrong, I was never an alcoholic, but I had a strong sense of being generally unhappy being a drinker. If you've got lower filters and very sensitive in general, then the phenomenon of post-drinking regret, or beer fear, is much worse and actually really stressful. I didn't like myself much with a drink inside me, and I think some of this was because it made sort of the masking that bit harder. The other thing I wasn't happy about was the extent to which I was drinking to self-medicate stress. Again, this wasn't vast amounts, but just as a baseline, I'd drink probably twice the recommended intake a week. This was the first thing post-diagnosis that I wanted to address because I wasn't happy about my reasons for drinking. And with more courage to live authentically as myself for the first time, I just didn't see it as part of the person I wanted to be. I've also discovered since that I'm a much funnier drunk as an authentic sober person than I ever was drinking as well. The second thing became highlighted by my dealing with the first. I noticed that when I stopped drinking, I developed a really sweet tooth, which I've since learned is common because the recently sober find they need some other source of dopamine to replace the alcohol. But this was just what brought it to a head for me. My whole life I've struggled with my weight, and I've essentially flip-flopped as an adult between being in control and out of control of my diet. I never seemed to instinctively know when I wasn't hungry anymore, and so would just eat. The third thing many people I think can relate to these days, which is again dopamine related, and is spending too much time on my mobile phone. This has become a general symptom of modern society, but imagine if you have potentially a deficit of dopamine to start with, a natural difficulty to focus, and a curious brain that just can't get enough information in fast enough. And you can kind of see the issue. It was again something I felt was unhealthy, and I wanted to have in proportion in the person that I wanted to be. I didn't want to feel guilty or be getting defensive for getting caught out doom scrolling away time when I should have been living mindfully yet again. Common to all 3 things was doing them to excess, or at least finding once I'd started I'd carry on way beyond the original need being fulfilled. They say ADHD is like having a fast engine and bad brakes, which rings very, very true to me in this sense. Also, in each case, they were things I would do when I was bored, which any ADHD person will tell you is often. And finally, they were all things I would do to try and improve my mood when I wasn't feeling good. None of them ever fixed the problem when I was honest with myself. In all 3 cases, actually, I found Alan Carr's Easy Way books and audiobooks were the key. Touch wood, in all 3 cases, they have helped me work to tame them. I have no desire to drink anymore, and I've no appetite for junk food, starchy carbs, or sugar. And touch wood, my phone use is much more functional and balanced, which of the 3 is becoming like a real joy. I can't quite believe it. It doesn't require any willpower either, which was the downfall of many attempts in the past. Anyway, I may go a bit deeper on each of them in turn one day, but I wanted just to give you a clue as to what the gift of self-acceptance through diagnosis has given me and therefore could give you. Usual thing, DM me or hit me up in the comments if you want to get in touch.